the 70s and solidly since the 80s. This is an outstanding group of candidates. Each one of them brings something to this party that the party very much needs. I'm going to let them tell you about themselves. We're going to do alphabetical by first name. And Anderson, you're first up. See, Anderson got a whistle right off the bat. You're first up, and I'm going to mute mine and give us about 3 minutes. Now, this is not lawyer time. This is like, real people time.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Can everybody hear me okay?
They're still sitting in the dark.
Oh, I'm sorry. Deborah, if you turn on these lights. That's a little better. Thank you.
Can everybody in the back see me okay? That's what I'd like to do. Okay, good. I want to make sure everybody can hear me, see me. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for taking time out of your Saturday to be here with us today to decide the future of the state party. I really appreciate the opportunity to get up here and speak in front of you. My name is Anderson Clayton. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm born and raised in Person County, North Carolina, a county that the Democratic Party left behind a long time ago, just like other counties across the state of North Carolina. I'm running for state party chair because Sherry Beasley should be our United States Senator right now. 74 counties in North Carolina swung to the right this year. We left more seats uncontested in the North Carolina State Senate than we have in our state's modern history. And those are the real facts of this election cycle. We need someone who is serious about recruiting candidates in every corner of this state, somebody who understands that organizing everywhere is worth it, and that people across this state are worth your fight, because that is what this party needs to do. I am tired of the Republican fear-mongering in my community and communities just like mine across North Carolina who have felt that their voices have been silenced in this party for far too long. We have a Democratic message to give to rural North Carolinians right now, and we're not doing it, and we need to. I serve as the Person County Democratic Party chair, and under my leadership, the Roxborough City Council flipped from red to blue because we ran people in that community that had the impact and the ability to know that community. We have a majority-minority city council now because we ran the people that are actually representative of the folks that they want, of the community that they represent. And I think that's what we need to do everywhere, in rural areas, in urban areas, everywhere in between. Sherry Beasley's not a United States Senator right now because we didn't get out our voters from uptown Charlotte to rural Edgecombe and Nash and Henderson counties right now. That's our reality in this state. And we've got work to do, and we need people that want to be workhorses on behalf of the party, that know people on the ground, and that care about this, and that want to make sure that people everywhere hear our message. This race, why I'm in this, is not about one person. It is not about, fighting against the people that are in leadership right now. This is about the direction of this party and the energy that it needs to have to go forward in this state. It is a decree, it is a desire to make sure that people across North Carolina understand that Democrats are going to fight for them again, because they always have been, and we've never left people behind before, and we're not going to do it anymore. Thank you all so much. ClaytonForCarolina.com is where you can find my platform and drop this morning. If you'd like to join us after this, I'd love to have everybody in my house in Person County, North Carolina. In person, everyone. Thank you so much.
Our next candidate is our state chair, Bobby Richardson. Bobby?
Thank you, David. Thank you and your team for organizing this event. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming out today. I know Saturday is a beautiful day. You could have been doing anything else, but this shows just how important politics is and the state of North Carolina is to you. I am currently the chair of the North Carolina Democratic Party, and we had some successes this year. We sent 7 congressional members to the U.S. House in Washington. This is something we had not done in over a decade. We also helped keep the governor's veto proof in place in the House. It's true we did not have veto proof in the Senate, but it was not because of effort. We elected and we recruited, and we trained senators, and we did have a unique winning in Cabarrus County, and we're so grateful for that. We also elected sheriffs up and down the ticket. We were able to save some school board seats, some clerk of court seats, and we have a year-round organizing program. that was productive. Out of all of the things that we did, we knocked on 922,000 doors. That included everyone in this room that knocked on any door, that called and asked for any directions, that participated in the GOTV effort. We also sent out 6.1 million texts, and those texts made a difference in the lives of people that received them. We were very instrumental in also having a voter protection team. The voter protection team was responsible for making sure that our candidates felt safe and would go to the polls and not be harassed. We decreased the efforts and the harassments and the antagonisticness of the polls by a large percent. We only had 1 or 2 issues that came up at the polls. And that's because our attorneys were ready and they recruited you and many other people, and they recruited tons of lawyers to make sure that we could address any issue that came up at our voter protection team. We had a comms team. For some people, that's a communication team. We had a comms team that covered the General Assembly. We had a comms team that covered the federal candidates, and we also had a comms team that worked with all of the comms teams to make sure that we were getting out the messages. We had over 48 visits to states, to different counties. We came when you asked us. There were counties that did not choose to have us there because they were still undergoing the efforts of protecting themselves from COVID. We were successful in making sure that each county that was organized did receive financial support. They did receive the support of Mobilize. They did receive the support of Vote Builder. And we also did packets that you could personalize and use in your district. We had office hours so that if people were confused about what the process was to do a particular task, we did office hours. And we also did year-round training. We trained county chairs, we trained precinct chairs, we trained treasurers, and we also trained people on how to use Zoom. So I know that we did not have the successes that we wished for, but we are all in this together, and if we won together. If we lost together. And one thing about our organizers, we heard you when you said, we do not want these organizers coming from out of state. We want local organizers. We hired more local organizers and more organizers from Eastern North Carolina than has ever been organized in the history of the North Carolina Democratic Party. We need to put our disappointment, our losses, and put our strength together and come together and be united for 23-24, because we've got a lot of work to do. Vote for Bobby Richardson for re-election for your county state chair, and I will promise you we will deliver even more. And we thank you so much. But every year is a learning year for us. Thank you.
Bobby Richardson. Eric Terashima.
Thanks, Tim, to the rest of you. I appreciate it. Good afternoon, y'all. Thank you all for taking the time to come out here. My name is Eric Terashima, and I'm originally from Southern California. So collectively at this table, I've probably got some of the least amount of time here in North Carolina, especially when I look across the crowd and I see centuries, literally, of Democratic Party involvement in politics. Y'all are pretty impressive. But I was first stationed here in North Carolina in 1992 at Camp Lejeune. I spent over half my career there. When I left active duty in 97, I actually joined up with John Deere Company in Raleigh, out of the corporate mowing headquarters. Then 9/11 happened, and I got mobilized, and I remained on active duty ever since then. One of the questions that was asked of me earlier was, how do I translate some of my military experience into what it would mean to be chair for the North Carolina Democratic Party? And the first thing I'm going to tell you is that I am all about perseverance. That's sticking to it. getting the job done, being aggressive about it. And I want to share with you my inspiration for that perseverance. In 1942, my grandmother's family was interned out of California. Their first stop was a horse stall in Los Alamitos at the racetrack while they were waiting for the camps to be built. In 46, they were deported to Japan. Most folks don't even realize that. Yeah, we took American citizens and forced them to move to Japan. My grandparents became subsistence level farmers, and in 56, by happenstance, a Navy lieutenant commander from a nearby base in Iwakuni recognized my grandmother and said, "Millie, what in the heck are you doing in that rice paddy? You need to come work on the base." So she got a job as being a secretary, because she was bilingual, at what is currently Marine Corps Air Station Iwakuni. In 58, she saw a movie at the theater, The White Cliffs of Dover, and it made her miss home, America. So she packed up her 5 children and came back to the United States without her husband. I was in 58, y'all. And so that's where I draw my inspiration from. Whenever I'm feeling down, like after this last general election, I pick myself up by the bootstraps and I think about all of the pain and suffering that my grandmother went through and the rest of the family. And that's what helps drive me on. And as Democrats, I think that's an object lesson learned. Another quote I heard a couple days ago, somebody asked me and said something to the effect of, you know, Democrats seem to have embraced losing. I'm like, nah, not this guy. And as you can hear by a lot of the words of enthusiasm from previous speakers, we're all fighters, right? We just need to share that enthusiasm, get that enthusiasm out, and show our perseverance as we drive forward. We can do this, y'all. And I look forward to working with you and making this happen. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm doing it. Turn it down? Okay. Step out here, right here. Eva Lee is next. Eva is new to this field in some ways, and yet she has talked about running for some time. We're delighted to have her. Eva?
Good morning. I'm Eva Lee, and I'm from Wake County. I have served for 5 years on the SEC as well as my county CEC. I've been a precinct chair, a vice chair, and a secretary, and I'm currently the 3rd vice chair of the 2nd Congressional District. I was also honored as Senior Democrat of the Year in 2021. If you look over here and you see my state fair backdrop from 2019, you will see that I refuse to be gerrymandered and I will leave no voter behind. There is no arbitrary line on a piece of paper that will stop me from bringing voters to the poll. There is no race on the ballot that is too small for me to care about, and if you elect me as chair of the party, my immediate first agenda item is to start filling the pipeline for 100% of every race on every ticket throughout North Carolina. I have a track record of inspiring people to run for office, and I will get more Democratic seats on the Council of State. We will win statewide races. Furthermore, I will create and, more importantly, execute a ground game that is unstoppable. We all know what has gone before, and we simply cannot continue the status quo. You deserve a chair who can execute an unstoppable ground game and give you 16 electoral votes in 2024. You need a chair who can think past, around, over, and through the GOP ugliness and emanate coherent, consistent messaging that reaches the hearts, minds, and souls of North Carolina voters. We need Blue News. We need 5 a.m. Blue News talking points every single day. You need a chair who is accessible. If you elect me chair, every single elected precinct officer in our party will have my phone number and accessibility, and that is what will help achieve 100% precinct organization. Because precincts are the basic building block of our party, and it is time to get back to the basics. I will leave no precinct, no county, and especially no candidate behind. I'm ready to build blue for 2,300 precincts, 100 counties, 170 House and Senate seats, and it is not rocket science. 2,300 precincts, 2,300 plus precincts in 23 months means I need to get the ball rolling for 100 precincts a month. Why is this so important? My precinct had 96% Democratic turnout in 2020. because I walked the turfs. It isn't magic, it is hard work, and I did the work. If you elect me, I will, with the help of the fantastic volunteers like yourself, without whose time and dedication we cannot keep the engines of this party going, we will build an unstoppable ground game. If you think it is time for our party to actually win statewide races, then it is time for operational change. You deserve a visionary leader who can turn out the vote, bring in dollars, get Democrats a seat at the table, and you need Eva Lee if you want to leave no voter behind. Thank you.
Eva Lee. Levon Barnes is our last but certainly not least candidate from Durham County. Levon?
Thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you're at right now. Like David says, my name is Levon Barnes. The only correction I'm going to have is I'm an Alamance County resident now, and not a Durham County resident. And so, in Alamance County, I see Ricky back there, we're going to flip Alamance County, I guarantee you. I'm a SEC member, or now former SEC member of Durham County. I've been a precinct chair in Precinct 54, which is South Point. It's our third largest precinct that we have. Been a state Progressive Caucus second chair, founder of the Progressive Caucus in Durham County. This is not what I do. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I teach the future Democrats here in this state. And I believe that we have lost focus. I'm about people. My focus is on people like Maria, Taylor, Zori, and Chris. First-time voters this year. First-time voters this year because they had people who inspired them to say, hey, the only way I can see change is I have to participate in the change. This is about Brenda Power and Senator Hall, Secretary Hall, and Senator McKissick, and Sheila, and Jonah, who poured into me. I didn't go to school for it, but I'm a lifelong learner. And I always want to get advice, mentorship from those who have set the precedent for us. And now being able to take it to the next generation and to the next level. I stand on those shoulders. And I finally do it for my 7-month-old daughter, Harper. I'm a first-time dad. I guess they call me a geriatric parent, so I'm 40. But she's my new reason. It's unfortunate that where we are headed in this state, and in this country for that matter, she's going to have less rights over her body and her education, amongst other things, than her mom and her grandmother. That's scary. That's scary. So we need people who are going to lead this party who believe in people, in the ground game, in organizing, and that just because you live in this county don't make you no better than the person who lives in that county. Every county matters because we have Democrats in every county that are doing great work, that are volunteering just like we all are, that care about this state. This state gave me my education. I'm from New York City, born and raised. My New York number is New York. That'll always remain. But my higher education came from this state. I came back to the state to teach the next generation, and I'm raising a North Carolinian little girl who's going to be hopefully the next leader of this state too. And so by trade, I coach. And that's what we need now. I coach, and I mentor, and I lead. We need coaching, we need organizing, we need inspiration. That is what we need in the party. We want to know why we're losing because people are not inspired right now to go vote. You know why we're not winning in this state? Because we have folks who are tired of carrying the labor and they feel like they're going unheard. We have folks in this state right now who are thinking about going unaffiliated because their voice has been going unheard for quite some time. That has to change. That has to stop. And so I'm asking you for your vote because I want to get to the questions. My name is Levon Barnes, and I'm running to be your next state chair. I do not do this because I just want to run. I do it because I feel in my heart that I have the vision and the passion, and I can help build the team to make us successful and get us to where we want to be. Thank you.
One more. Now, of course, we're running late because we're Democrats, and that's just what they do. But you'll see up on that screen the categories for discussion. And of course, we are running late. It's 1:22. But we're going to go through each one of these, or at least try to. These questions that are on the screen, I know it's hard for you to see. Don't worry, we're going to be talking about it. These questions have been put into the different categories, and we're going to start with Bobby Richardson and then go in the same order that we went in before. Bobby, you can choose any one of those questions that you want to answer, and because we're short on time, try to take just a minute. Bobby?
Do what?
Speak directly.
Speak directly into the microphone again. It's like Jimmy Irvin, who is our Elvis Presley stand-in today. Lift that mic straight up, Bobby, and talk right into it.
This is very interesting. All of those are very important questions, and to have to narrow it down to speak to one is kind of difficult because each and every one on there has an extreme value for how effective getting out the vote will be and how effective our election returns will be. What will be the measurable goal of your plan to identify and increase turnout of Democratic communities across the state? Our measurable goal is that in 2020, we develop a strategic plan. And in that strategic plan, we had measurable goals as to how many volunteers that we would need to carry this plan out. We also had a number of how many regional organizers and organizing directors that we would need to carry this plan out, and how much we would have to share information and literature and work with the county chairs, the auxiliaries, and all of our constituent groups to make sure that we were getting our message out to everyone, and also making sure that we were communicating the values of the North Carolina Democratic Party. We are looking at our strategic plan. It was written for 5 years. We found some strengths in that strategic plan, but we also know that there are some things that need to be revisited and made stronger. For example, we did not get the number of regional directors and organizers that we had targeted because the money was not there for us to do it this year. We also had a situation where our regional, headquarter regional organizers had to take over the coordinated organizing effort because of a situation there that did not work effectively as we had hoped it would work. So we moved our headquarter regional operators over to the coordinated campaign, and they did an outstanding job starting late. And that's why some of our counties were disappointed because we got started late. But when we hire people, they interview well, they say all the right things, but when you put them to work, you realize that they do not have the understanding or the process or the skills to carry out the job in which they were targeted to carry out. So it threw us back, and we did have some very well-organized leaders that stepped up and got us back on track and increased our turnout.
Bobby, thank you very much for that answer.
Right.
We're going to move to Eric now to give the next answer to the response. Eric, pick a question and tell us what it is. I know some of y'all can't see this, and I apologize for that, but we've got to have these lights on in the front in order for people online to be able to see the candidates. So I apologize for that. Yes, if you would read out the question that you're going to answer. That's a good point, Tom. Tom Rockwell from the Senior Democrats. Eric, read out the question you want and answer it. Go.
Should canvassing be year-round? Yes. Should it be different in rural areas from urban and suburban areas? Fundamentally, no. But clearly, if you have an apartment complex and you're going to go through 80 places, it's going to be a lot easier to do when you have, I don't know, 2 to 10 acres between locations, right? That makes it a lot harder. I was just down in Georgia canvassing about a month and a half ago for Senator Warnock, and I had those kinds of disparities. One day my turf cut was an apartment complex. Great, I knocked it out in 2 hours. The next day, they gave me a more rural area where I actually had to drive and strategically place my truck into different spots to make little loops. And of course, my foot count that day went over double on my steps. So that was a bit of a grind. But the messaging is very similar, right? And so is the things that you're going to talk about, because we're talking about going out to people. And the reason why I'm going to go back to yes, as to why we need to canvass year round, is because that goes back to generating some of the enthusiasm. Just like you've heard so many folks here say so far, we need to generate enthusiasm. The best, most efficient and effective way to do that is in person. That's why we're here together right now, because we all know that when we get to talk to each other, you're going to get a different vibe. Like, can I trust this person? Is this person going to look me in the eye? Will this person try to fleece me? We can all kind of get a sense for that in person. And that's why canvassing year-round must be done. That's how we're going to get an increased volunteer base. What does that also mean? That means, from my standpoint, higher headquarters' job is to support the people at the very bottom level. That means all the way down to the precincts. When we say grassroots, that's where it happens. That's where the rubber meets the road. And I'll give you a story to tell you about this example. Several years ago, I joined up.
Eric, I hate to cut you off.
I'm at 3 minutes?
Let's save that story. Now, it's supposed to take 1 minute, and then I expanded it out to 2 minutes. That's sort of my prerogative. Eva, it's 2 minutes. Now, I'm going to ask Deborah, if you would turn the lights off at the front while she picks her questions. People can't see the screen, and I'm told that people online can't see it either. So turn off the other one, too. Okay, Eva, if you would, read out the question that you are going to answer and then answer it.
Let's set the mood. Ladies and gentlemen, we've all walked a turf or two in our time. Here's the deal. 2,300 plus precincts, 23 months, 100 counties. All we have to do is collaborate. I'm not saying violate federal law and be coordinated. All I'm saying is we have to pool our resources. The 2 strongest counties in our state, okay, I'll read the question. The question is, how do you get it done? Okay? This is how you get it done. You take Wake and Mech with their 400 plus highly technologically powered counties and dense activists. We have maybe 10,000 activists in Wake County. There are counties in North Carolina that have 15 activists. There's just no reason that we can't pool our resources and adopt a sister district. The measurable goals are simple. The win number is 50% plus 1. We need to turn out enough voters in our dense counties, and we need to care about 100% of 100 counties if we're going to win statewide races. It's not rocket science. It's just simply not rocket science. They are going to redraw our districts because they can. They are going to win cases in the Supreme Court now because they can. And the only thing we can do is pull ourselves together and beat them like kicking donkeys. I mean, we have to be the donkeys and we have to kick it. We have to make it happen. There's no other way. So for me, I don't really believe that the coordinated campaign as it is described or as it is traditionally, it's just not working. I want a totally different thing where you take a spreadsheet, you put it in the counties, you put down how many activists they have, you calculate the number of missing organized precincts, you organize those precincts. It is mathematical. I'm not a vote builder queen. I have friends who are. I don't need to be a vote builder queen to understand. Hi, I'm Eva Lee. I'm a volunteer for the Democratic Party. Do you know who your precinct chair is, sir? May I give you the name of your precinct chair and welcome you to a meeting in your county?
Eva,
Period.
thank you so much for that answer. Ron, you're up. This is a discipline check. You have 2 minutes.
I'm a teacher now. I don't know. I think what Eva said, listen, let's be honest here. I've done many forums as a candidate. We're all on the same team. We're all going to pretty much have the same answers for a lot of the questions. To me, it's about execution. So I'm going to just answer number 3 again. Should canvassing be year-round? Should it be different in rural areas from urban or suburban areas? If we're not canvassing today, we already behind the 8 ball. So if you were in the county and you have a county chair that has not organized canvassing today, or tomorrow, or next weekend, then we're already behind. I'm gonna tell you right now, the reason why the right is doing what they gotta do because they've been knocking on doors since the last election. So, you know, it does, like Eva said, it does not take rocket science to know what we have to do. It's just about going and doing it. We have too many smart people in here that have very good ideas and opinions. In each of these rural counties and suburban counties, they have very good smart people that know their county. How much have we leaned on them rather than it's always coming from the top? Okay, it's, to me, that's like again, I hate to just keep saying the right, but that trickle down thing, that I don't understand, it doesn't make any sense to me. It's literally, and I don't even want to use the bottom up. Grassroots up, the people who live in those counties, the people who live in those cities, they know their county the best, they know their city the best. They need to tell us at the top what they need and we need to just provide. Period. The other aspect of it is, yes, we need to partner together. Durham, I love Durham, but Durham is a unicorn. Durham is a unicorn. Durham can help person. Durham can go help Alamance, and we do. In fact, the great thing about Durham is they have a data busters team. They have all these different teams of dedicated Democrats that do great work. I guarantee you not every county has that. But if Durham can share that information to other counties, then maybe we can start looking at the numbers a little bit different. So, yes, I believe that we need to be canvassing today. Yes, we should have different ideas for rural areas and urban areas and suburban areas. And at the top, we need to then coordinate that with them. But that's where we need to be. That's where we need to be headed as a party in the direction. Thank you.
Thank you, Levon.
Is that 2 minutes?
Thank you. Right on it. Anderson Clayton. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I agree. I agree. And next time we'll have a better moderator. I take full responsibility of that. Anderson Clayton's been waiting patiently. Anderson, please give us 2 minutes. No more, no less. Yes, ma'am. Well, I'm the timer. I do have a phone. Madam DNC member, I would love for you to be the timer. Dee Dee Adams, the Democratic National Committee, will be our timer henceforth.
She gonna cut.
You're up, Anderson. Read your question.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go with question 4. Should the party recruit candidates for every election? We left 44 uncontested seats this cycle, and that number 4 has everything to do with every other question on this sheet right here to me. When we contest and we have good candidates running in every race, you will have people that want to turn out to vote because they know the person in their community that's running. That person is in there getting those people out to vote and is encouraging that local base, those reverse coattails, as we like to say, right? You know, the aspect of winning the General Assembly in 2030 to me relies on whether or not we get good candidates recruited to these districts to be able to speak on behalf of their districts, right? You know, the measurable goals. By this summer, we should have a person for every seat in the State House and the State Senate for 2024. It should have been sooner than that. I have to be honest with all of you. It needed to be, right? Because Republicans are doing it now. We need early cash on hand money in order to invest in those districts, make sure that the races that we know that are competitive, that we know we need to be in. We're sitting in one right now in 2024 that I'm looking at, Ricky Hurtado in the back. I'm just like, we've got to make sure that we are supporting these candidates, that we are recruiting good people to run for these positions, and that affects every single thing on here. Canvassing year round. If you've got a strategic person and somebody that is a Jonah Garson or somebody that ran for State House, right? That's going to get people out of the doors early, that they understand the priority of that. We've got to have people that are working in this party consistently to do that work, right? And that means that we need to recruit candidates to run for every race. We did not do that this year. Like I said earlier, we left the most seats uncontested in the North Carolina State Senate in modern history. That's important here, people. People felt left out across our state because of that. So we need to recruit good candidates, not just putting a candidate on a ballot, putting the candidate on a ballot from here on out, everybody. Thank you.
Dee Dee, how'd we do?
She took a bit 40 seconds, but I will not start the timer until you after you read your question.
Okay, thank you.
And Dee Dee, I'm gonna hand you a piece of paper that Sarah Parker Pittman, my daughter, who's been helping with this, is gonna give you that 1 minute and then 30 seconds. And candidates, when you see that, then you know that times are running. I want to, while we're doing this, Kim Knapp has been helping out with the online work. Kim's over at Deborah Hosler's been helping with the lights a bit. Tim, the sound guy, has been helping with the mics, and we just really appreciate it. And my wife, who was standing in the back, has been the most helpful of all because she tolerates me doing these things. So thanks to all of y'all for helping put this on. You know the drill. The next person to be first up is Eric. So Eric, pick a, Deborah, if you toggle the lights. Eric, pick a question and read it out, answer it. Deborah will toggle the lights back on, and then we'll take off. So you start at your will.
What will be my approach for raising money from both large donors and from grassroots donors? The very first thing I'm going to do is find folks who are good at doing both. Leverage their network, leverage their connections. One of the things that I will readily admit to you is that I have been starting to get involved in